Think about the European dream for a second. Free healthcare, incredibly generous unemployment, month-long vacations, right? It literally sounds like an absolute paradise. But what if I told you the data reveals a brutal, completely counterintuitive truth? In this explainer, we're asking a pretty controversial question. Is this enviable, high welfare system actually a poison pill for the working class? Because the research shows we are looking at a system that secretly destroys human potential. It's a high welfare trap.
I mean, we all envy that lifestyle. Clocking out for good at 55 sounds absolutely amazing. But data from Nobel laureate James J. Heckman drops an absolute bombshell on this dream. He shows us exactly why this setup is secretly a total disaster. It literally traps unskilled workers in permanent poverty, and it completely kills their drive to learn. Let's break down exactly how this happens. First off, you can basically throw the official unemployment numbers out the window. True unemployment in a lot of European countries, it's often twice as high as what gets reported. 2 times. Why? Because massive numbers of people are just hidden. They get shuffled into these totally useless active labor market programs. So yeah, they're out of sight, but make no mistake, they are definitely not working.
And the culprit here? High taxes and extreme job protections. They have these incredibly brutal consequences, basically keeping massive portions of the population entirely locked out of the workforce. You can see it clear as day right here. The Anglo-Saxon world has high participation. Continental Europe, medium. The Mediterranean, super low. And listen, this isn't about people just being lazy. No, this is an economic system that is perfectly designed to punish work.
It triggers this relentless downward spiral, a literal chain of human capital destruction. Step 1. Sky-high labor taxes totally discourage working, so people work fewer hours. Step 2. Less time on the job means zero drive for on-the-job training. Step 3. Without that training, your skills just rapidly decay, which finally pushes you straight toward welfare-funded early retirement. Your competitive edge, it's completely wiped out.
It's a vicious cycle. Taxes are way too high. People just stop working, and their skills completely rot away. I mean, if you don't work, your fancy degree is just a worthless piece of paper. Skills aren't like riding a bike. You absolutely can and will forget them. Human capital demands constant daily use. You either use it or you lose it. And this welfare state, it's literally paying people to lose it.
So let's move into part 1, skills are like muscles.
Seriously, think of your brain like a muscle. Economists use this fancy term called dynamic complementarity, but here's what it actually means. Learning begets learning. The strong just get stronger. If you build a massive foundation of skills when you're a kid, learning literally anything else later on becomes incredibly fast and super cheap. But if you don't have that foundation, trying to learn from scratch at age 40 is an absolute nightmare. The whole system just breaks down.
Which brings us to this mind-blowing visual, the Heckman curve. Look at that massive cliff in the rate of return as people age. Investing early, like in preschool, yields absolute fortunes. It completely changes lives. But adult job training? The data is brutal here, guys. It is almost a total waste of money. It simply does not work.
The data shows us a really tough reality to swallow. Early childhood intervention, it gives extremely high returns, and it permanently fixes inequality without any messy trade-offs. But on the flip side, trying to retrain adults who missed out early in life is unbelievably expensive. And worse, it's largely ineffective. It barely even passes a basic cost-benefit test. It feels really good to fund, but mathematically, it fails miserably.
I know, it sounds incredibly harsh, but the math just doesn't care about our feelings. The conclusion is we need to stop throwing money at 50-year-old unemployed adults and instead invest it in 3-year-old poor children. Programs in the US and Sweden prove this beyond a shadow of a doubt. Late-stage public job training yields virtually zero results. We are desperately funding the completely wrong end of the human lifespan.
Okay, let's shift gears to part 2,
Taxing your brain. Just ask yourself this really simple question. If the government is going to pay you to retire comfortably at 55, why on earth would you bother learning anything new at 45? Well, you wouldn't. Early retirement completely shrinks the payback period for learning. If you know you aren't going to be working much longer, your brain logically decides to just stop acquiring new skills. The motivation is completely dead. It turns the whole system into Robin Hood in reverse. It literally robs the young. It redistributes money away from the youth, the outsiders, just to protect the established older workers, the insiders. Those high marginal taxes brutally penalize hard work.
It locked unskilled youth completely out of the market. And ultimately, it creates a permanent underclass that is entirely reliant on the state just to survive.
Finally, let's look at part 3, model flaws and reality.
Now, as mind-blowing as all this data is, we do have to look at Heckman's economic model critically. His model assumes this perfect, completely frictionless world where full employment is just mathematically guaranteed. But come on, that completely ignores reality. European institutions weren't built in a vacuum. They were built to prevent social collapse. They were built for stability. The model kind of ignores the complex, incredibly messy, historical reasons why these protective safety nets even exist in the first place.
So we're going to leave you with this final thought to chew on. When welfare completely deprives you of the motivation to grow, what is it really? If a safety net stops you from ever learning to climb the ladder, is it actually saving you? Or is it secretly keeping you down? Keep questioning the obvious.